Oigan bien, señores. No aparecerán más asesinados en las orillas de las carreteras. Se irá a fusilar a quien esté en contra de la ley.
Welcome to Unearthed Horrors, a series on this channel in which I will be exploring famous and forgotten cases from every country around the world. Today, we land in Guatemala, a country known for its beautiful land and a place close to home. But as many see it as a place to enjoy a family trip or solo vacation, just like any other country, there are some horrifying secrets hidden within the land. Today I'll tell you about 5 cases that I found both interesting and horrifying. In July of 2011, Cristina Secavisa disappeared from her home in Guatemala City. She was 33 years old, a mother of 2 young kids, and by all accounts, a loving and caring mom. That night, Cristina's husband, Roberto Barreda, called her parents to say she was missing. He claimed there had been a violent robbery and she had vanished during the chaos. But when police arrived, the story didn't add up. There was no sign of forced entry and nothing was stolen. When investigators arrived at the house, they described it as being almost too clean. They later found blood traces in the bedroom that had been cleaned with bleach. The blood matched with Cristina's. Soon, the focus turned entirely onto Roberto. Friends and family said Cristina and Roberto's marriage was falling apart. She had been considering divorce for a long time, and there were rumors he was extremely controlling and abusive behind closed doors. Some of her friends claimed Cristina was scared of what Roberto might do if she ever left him. After a few weeks, Roberto left Guatemala with their 2 children. He fled to Mexico, staying under the radar with help from his mother, who was a powerful judge at that time. Her position in Guatemala's judicial system made many people believe she used her connections to keep Roberto protected in order to delay the investigation. For 2 years, Cristina's parents fought relentlessly for justice. They put out media campaigns, pressed the government for action, and even reached out to international organizations. Finally, in 2013, Roberto was arrested in Mexico and extradited back to Guatemala. He was charged with femicide, obstruction of justice, and illegal removal of his children from the country. But even with his arrest, the nightmare wasn't over. Roberto continued to deny everything. He claimed he was innocent and insisted Cristina was alive somewhere. Meanwhile, their 2 children were placed under the care of Cristina's parents, who continued to raise them while fighting for answers about their daughter's fate. During the court proceedings, evidence came out showing that Cristina had been planning to file for divorce just days before she disappeared. Investigators also revealed that her blood was found on multiple objects in the bedroom, and cleaning chemicals were detected. Neighbors also reported hearing a couple fighting the night she disappeared. Despite all of this, Cristina's body has never been found. In 2018, Roberto Barreda died in prison from COVID-19 before he could be fully convicted. This left the case technically unsolved, with no official confession, no conviction, and no remains. To this day, her family continues searching for her body so they can finally lay her to rest. For many in Guatemala, this case is a tragic example of how money and power can protect killers, and how a woman's life can be erased so easily without justice ever being served. From 1960 to 1996, Guatemala was torn apart by a brutal civil war, but between 1978 and 1984, the violence reached its darkest point. This period was often called the Silent Holocaust because of the mass killings carried out by the Guatemalan military against the indigenous Maya population. During this time, the Guatemalan military carried out mass killings against the indigenous Maya population. The government believed that these communities were supporting leftist guerrilla groups, so instead of targeting only rebels, they targeted entire villages, trying to eliminate anyone they saw as a threat. Soldiers would arrive in villages and carry out violent attacks. Many communities were completely destroyed, leaving survivors with no homes, no food, and no way to bury their loved ones. Thousands of people were forced to flee deep into the jungle to survive. Those who survived were often relocated into what were called model villages. These places were heavily controlled by the military and were meant to keep people under constant watch. Anyone suspected of helping the rebels faced severe punishment. Between 1981 and 1983 alone, more than 200,000 people were killed or disappeared, and 83% of them were Mayan civilians. Over 600 villages were completely wiped out, leaving behind mass graves that are still being found to this day. In 1999, the UN-backed Historical Clarification Commission declared that the Guatemalan state had committed acts of genocide against the Maya people. But even to this day, many of those responsible have never faced justice. A few military leaders have been tried in recent years, but most continue to live freely. As for the Maya communities, the trauma is still there. Families continue searching for loved ones in hidden graves across the highlands. The Silent Holocaust remains as one of the least discussed genocides in the world. But for those who lost their homes, families, and future, these events can never be forgotten. In Guatemala, April 26, 1998 became a date many will still remember. Monsignor Juan Jose Gerardi, a Catholic bishop, had spent years documenting human rights violations from the country's long civil war. Just 2 days earlier, he had presented the Recovery of Historical Memory report, a project that recorded thousands of testimonies from survivors. Because of this report, the findings placed most of the responsibility for atrocities on the Guatemalan military. That Sunday night, Gerardi returned to his parish house in Guatemala City. The next morning, he was found dead in the garage, killed by blows to the head of the concrete block. His murder came only 54 hours after releasing the report, leading many to believe it was a direct act of retaliation. Investigations drew international attention. In 2001, a civilian court convicted 3 military officers, Colonel Byron Lima Estrada, Captain Byron Lima Olivia, and Sergeant Jose Obdulio Villanueva. These 3 were charged with the murder, each receiving a 30-year sentence. A priest, Mario Orantes, who also lived in the parish house, was found guilty as an accomplice and sentenced to 20 years. The case became a landmark moment in Guatemala, showing that high-ranking members of the military could face justice for crimes connected to the Civil War. Today, Gerardi is remembered for his work bringing survivor stories to light, even at the cost of his own life. To understand just how extreme cartel and gang violence in Guatemala can be, let's look at a few real cases from the country. In May 2011, the country woke up to one of its deadliest mass killings. On a remote farm in Petén, near the Mexican border, 27 people, 25 men and 2 women were slaughtered, most of them being decapitated. Authorities linked the massacre to Los Zetas, a cartel fighting for control of drug routes through northern Guatemala. The brutality sent a message not just rivals, but to the entire region that was their territory. The country wasn't new to these type of attacks before though. The year before, in 2010, residents of Guatemala City were shaken up by an even more public display. 4 severed heads and 2 headless bodies were found at different points across the city, outside the Congress building, fire station, and even a shopping center. Notes were left of the remains to threaten prison and judicial officials, showing how violence is often aimed at intimidating the state itself. Inside of Guatemala's prisons, the danger is even worse. In May 2001, a gang riot in Cartel prison in Quetzaltenango left 7 inmates dead, most of them beheaded, in a clash between Mara Salvatrucha and Barrio 18. It wasn't the first time. Back in 2008, at Pobrecito prison, a similar gang battle ended with 7 killed and 5 of them being beheaded. These are not isolated attacks. They're part of a pattern where cartels and gangs use decapitation and public killings to instill fear, enforce control, and send unmistakable warnings. For communities that are caught in between the crossfire, the message is clear. Speak out and you'll risk becoming the next example. The last case we'll wrap up for visiting Guatemala. This channel is all about covering cases from around the world. In the next video, we're heading down to El Salvador to break down its own history of gang warfare and violence. Since this is my first video, I apologize for the mic quality and editing, but I'm going to try to improve next time. If you found this interesting, make sure you subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next case. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in El Salvador.